What's going on, guys? Today we are gonna take a look at a small series that I am going to start. This is going to be doing simple labs on a simulator environment with Cisco routers. As you can see on the screen, this is the topology that we are gonna be topology. What do I always say? Topology. Topology that we are gonna be working with for this lab. It's just 3 routers connected. And on the right you can see a summary of the commands that we are going to use. Since this is the first video, it's going to be more of an introduction to the command line interface and some of the commands that you are likely to come across the first time you ever boot up a switch or a router. Now, throughout the labs, these are probably commands that you will see in every single lab, just because you always gotta go in there, give it a name, give it an IP. You gotta come in and out of modes and or line interfaces. So by the time that you learn to do any good and or juicy stuff with this, you will be pretty proficient at these commands. So anyways, with that being said, let me get this out of the screen and let's take a look. So for the most part, when you connect to a Cisco switch, most of the time or some of the time you will be doing it through a console cable. This is what it's going to look like. This is the command line interface, and this is a simulated environment. You will not be able to see the boot process for it, but you can find that anywhere online these days. So if we click on enter, it brings us right away to exec mode. This is basically the first I guess mode that you're on. This is user exec mode. From here we're able to type a very simple command called enable. This will put you in something called privilege exec mode. And you can, something that you will notice every time you go from a mode to another, the prompt here will change for you. As you notice, to begin with, you had a greater than sign, and when I went to privilege mode, now we'll have a pound sign. And that is how you can tell here. If you want to go out of a mode, you have 2 choices. You can type end. No, you cannot do it in there. You can type exit, and that's because it took me out of the whole thing. And let's go back in here. Another thing you can do with most commands, especially if you are typing a command in a mode and that is the only command that you are able to do on that particular mode, there's ways to abbreviate it. For example, I could put ENA, and if I hit tab, it will auto complete it for me. Or I could just put EN, click enter, and it will put me into the mode itself. You can do that with almost anything. So for example, usually from this mode, you can go to global configuration mode, which is, for that you will type configure terminal. I could do CON tab configure TER terminal, and it will put me in that mode. Or I can exit out of it and type conf T, since that is the only combination of letters that would amount to configure terminal. It will put you on that mode. Okay, what else? So if I take a look, all right, so another thing, from here, this is where you can do show commands. Show commands is what you do to see the running configuration of your switch. If you want to see your history of inputs, if you want to see the date and time in your switch and things like that, if you want to see IP interfaces. So for example, if we type here show running config and click enter, this will show you that the current configuration on your switch. This is what's actually running here. You can either press the spacebar, which will give you the next page of config, or you can click enter and it will go down line by line. If you click something like the down arrow, it kicks you out of the interface. Another thing you can do in every single mode in a Cisco router is type in a question mark. And what that does, it gives you the available list of commands that you can do in that particular mode. So for example, here you can do configure, so you can go to configure terminal. You can exit to get out, log out to log out of the switch. You can ping from here if once you have more complex topologies than this, unless you have a computer here or you have this two connected, you can ping one another. You will do that from this interface. And again, you can click enter to see more, or just space to see the next full page of stuff that you can do from this interface. Okay, and that is what the question mark does for you. Something else that you should be aware, another thing you can do like that, if you want to use a command but you're not sure what it does, you can put the command, put a space and a question mark, and it will tell you the things that you can do, or the things that command will allow you to be able to do or see from it. Now, something that you will most likely do every time you log into a router, if it's a new router or if you're changing it from place, is give it a name, a host name. The reason why you will want to do that is because if you work in a large environment and you have, let's say, 30 floors, and you have a router in the 3rd floor, and you don't know, you want to find the router on the network, or telling it into that router on the network, it might be good to have a good name, a good descriptive name, for you to be able to find that router. So for all our labs, since they're going to be simple, they're usually just going to be called router 1, 2, and 3. So we are going to give this router a host name. If you take a look right now, this down here, it just says router. So to do that, we can go to global configuration mode and just type in host name, and let's call it router 1. And when I click on enter, you're gonna see that now this changed to router 1. You just assign a host name. Some of the other things that you do is you want to give this a password in order to be able to get to privilege exec mode and etc. This will limit access to the router or the switch, because you can also do this on switches. So what you will do for that, here all you do is enable password, and let's just call it Cisco for simplicity. You're gonna click on enter. That has a password, so we can definitely test that. If I type in end, it's gonna take me all the way back out to privilege mode. We can exit here, and I want to click on enter router. As soon as I type enable, it's gonna ask me for a password, and Cisco. Now I'm inside. If you want to look at it, if you want to look at this in the running configuration, you could do show run, and you can tell that here it is. Now, problem with this is anyone that already has access to your router, they will be able to read this, which then doesn't really make much sense, because that is no security at all. So there is a way to encrypt this password. What you can do, there's 2 ways actually. One that is for everything, and one is specifically for this. So you can do configure terminal. You're gonna do enable secret, and then you do not need to put the word password. You will just put the password that you like. Let's call this BS. No, let's call this Cisco with 2 S's here, and you're gonna do that. So if we do another way to see show commands, they only work in privilege mode, but from any mode on the router, if you put the word do in front of it and then show run, it will show it to you, just because you put the word do. So as you can see, it encrypted the password that I just used. Now if we, something else to demonstrate, if we back out of this all the way out and we clicked on here, what password do you think it's going to ask you for? Let's try it. If we put Cisco, no. If we put Cisco SS, there we go. So the router or the switch would be smart enough to choose the best level of encryption that you have set up. Now, I said there was 2 ways to encrypt passwords. Another thing you can do from global configuration mode, if you put service password encryption and you click on enter here, every single password that I set up on any line interface, console interface, is gonna encrypt it for me automatically, so I wouldn't need to use the enable secret anymore. That's just something that I believe is good for you to know at this point. Let me see what else is good. Enable secret. So if you are logging from a console, you will also want this to have a password and the username to log into the console. So to do this, we could do line console 0. Usually when you log in on a console, you are using the 0 console. And then to do this, you are gonna put a password. So let's say password CISCO. If I click on enter, the problem with this is that now the console has a password, but you also need to require it for when you're gonna log in. And to do that, we're gonna put the word login here, and then we could do show run. And if we take a look at the configuration, okay, I may need to enter. So if we take a look, now you have to go into the console, you have to log in and you have to use the password. And as you can see, I typed CISCO, but because we had issued that that service password encryption command earlier on, this is already encrypted for us. So it saves you a lot of time. It might save you a couple of seconds here and there, but it is definitely worth the trouble. So learn that command. Now, so we can test this. If I want to exit and log out here, password, we are going to put okay, I'm typing wrong. CISCO SS, enter. Okay. All right, so the thing is this: since this is alive and it is technically connected to the console, this supersedes the password that we did before. So since the password is CISCO, I have to use it to log in, and now when you type enable, it will ask you for that other password that we set up. I got confused there because I said 2 different passwords for the example. Okay, so that is how that works. And that's basically it. Like I said, if it's always good, something that you can always do to troubleshoot. Let's say you are doing something and it is not working and you don't know where you might have gone wrong, you can always do show run, and you can see that everything that you have already set up, or at least everything that you have touched in this section. And you might be, if you made a mistake, let's say this was an IP address and I'm trying to ping something and it doesn't work, you can always do show run, see that you typed it incorrectly, and that's a good step to troubleshoot. So this is going to be it. Actually, no, something else I forgot. So another way, you know what? I'm gonna leave that for the next video because that's a conversation that might take longer than I want it to. So I'm gonna just exit, log out of my router here, for security purposes. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy this very simple short video, and tune in next time. Thanks.